Coming at you live from this square, and then also that other square that he's in. This is a Dodgers Nation pregame, Blue Heaven pregame. The dog gets spooked when I hit the bell, and I didn't turn on my light yet. What is going on, Dodgers Nation? I'm Clint. That other guy is Brooke, and I don't know where we're at. Like, I know where we're at, but I don't know where we're
physically
at. Like with this team right now. How are you doing? How are you feeling a day after the many incidents, good and bad incidents?
Well, I feel better once I got a chance to relax and sleep on it and sleep off the grumpies and actually do a deep dive and look at the pitchers for the next couple of days and what we're up against. Feel a lot better. I know you don't feel quite as happy. With good reason.
I feel better today. I mean, I still have reason to be angry, and people not wanting to put this deficit, or in particular Game 2, on Dave. I understand the people that will say no. There are a number of things that Robert said that just straight irked me the wrong way. But first, we want to hear from you guys. Let's go ahead and dig into the comments. I'll lead off. We got our boy Richard Hooker. Hooker's in here. 661 represents it. Hello, guys. And he's saying go Blue. Thanks for hanging out with us, Rich. We appreciate you. Danny's too nervous to watch the game today. And I'm not... I can feel that. Like, I walked away at some point in those middle innings because I saw Pedro Baez, and then what happens when Pedro Baez is in the playoffs happens. There's stats, there's analysis, there's data that says what's going to happen, what happened is going to happen, and then it happened. So, you know.
Yeah, I understand. I get it. Get it completely. David over on Facebook says, do you guys think we can come back and beat the Braves? Me personally, I do think we can come back and beat the Braves. I don't know if you have a different opinion than I do.
I do think that, and that's, we're always, if we say that, we're going to probably get called homers. We are, Dodger fans, obviously.
That would make sense. That adds up.
Sense, but it's not a homer take. It's there's a lot of things that line up well for the Dodgers. Dodgers, I think we haven't lost 3 games in a row this year.
We have not.
The Braves went through all of their good starters, which is 2 of them. Kyle Wright seems to be more of a hit and miss kind of guy, which we'll get into more later on in this program. But I feel good. There's a lot of things that line up well for the Dodgers on paper. It's just on seeing again we're 0-2 in a series. It's not a comfortable feeling to have, but still I remain less or more optimistic than pessimistic with this.
That's a fair assessment. I understand that entirely. Katie sums it up pretty well. She says Dodger fans only know pain in October, and unless you've been alive for a pretty long time, you haven't seen a good October in a very long time. So sorry about that. But neither have I.
I was 3 the last time the Dodgers had a good October, so I don't really remember it.
I was -5.
And we're very proud of you for that. Hey, keep up the good work, bud. Leslie says, hopefully this game goes better than the last 2. Go Dodgers. I saw Sandy De La Torre on Periscope. Oh, Lord help us. I saw that before.
That about sums it up for everybody right now, I think.
Checking in all around too. We got Angie out in Coachella on Facebook. Thanks for hanging out with us. You should have sound. Leslie said no sound, but I'm checking. I mean, other people seem to be saying they have sound, so I think we're good. We got Northern Utah in the house. Angie also says it's time for the boys to get out their bats today. Brendan's coming in from Montana, bleeding blue up in Montana. That's worth a bell too while we're at it.
Montana,
David's
Big Sky Country
upset.
or whatever.
Yeah, David on YouTube's pretty upset, and I think that's fair. We're all fans. We have a right to be upset when our team makes us look bad on the internet. Like focus on one weird random part of it. Kenley Jansen Goon Squad is drinking a Red Bull. I believe you two are drinking a Red Bull, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Me3.
Yeah, it's that mid-afternoon caffeine rush that you need right before disappointment,
Yeah, 2:06. It's 2:06 p.m. right now. about 1 hour away, just under 1 hour away from first pitch. As you put it yesterday, not quite sure if it's lunch or dinner when it comes to game time. So we have that. Derek checking in from Sydney, Australia. I don't even know what time it is there, but I'm sure it's somewhere around 06.
It's a different time.
All right. 3 o'clock game, though, 3:05 first pitch on FS1. Again, Joe Buck and John Smoltz on the call. So earblood, a little bit of earblood, a little bit of bad takes. We've seen more bad takes on the internet than we've seen out of them, though, but we don't need to get into those too much. But, man, Twitter be wilding on at times. But let's get into the game. The Dodgers bats last night. Woke up, got out of bed, and they did it late. What are your thoughts on the last, I guess 3 innings of the ball game?
Yeah, I think like you said, we got their 2 best pitchers in game 1 and 2. So unfortunately, when that happens, oftentimes you don't get the best relievers out there to try to burn them early. I did like that they did make a late push and they made a couple of their better relievers get into the game. That's something you can hang your hat on, I guess. We talked about momentum a lot yesterday. Mm-hmm. Feels like after Corey Seager's home run that, once the ball started getting rolling a little bit, you kind of knew that they weren't going to come back. And then they almost did come back. And you're like, all right, well, at least we have that going into the next game. Also comes with some negative thoughts because then you look back at some of the pitching matchups and the decisions that were made and you're like, crap, wish that wouldn't have happened, but we can talk about that in a minute. But you get some of the better relievers into the game yesterday. I think that's an underrated part of the game. You get Minter into the game, who Seager takes deep. Mm-hmm. Minter is one of the best pitchers that they have this year, one of the most efficient ones, and also a left-handed pitcher. Yeah. You also get O'Day into the game, another guy who's very efficient, another guy who's been one of their best relievers, and he's got knocked out right before Minter got brought in. So you didn't get their best reliever in the ninth. That's a guarantee. That was not their best reliever. That's far from it. So you gotta take the positives as they come. And the positive was that we got Melanson into the game. The goal with that, hopefully, is that he will come in tonight at some point, and then that kind of takes him out of the equation for tomorrow. You would think, because coming in 3 straight days is not ideal for a closer.
Yeah, you look at the series, and we hear it a lot. We're talking about it a lot. We want to try to find those silver linings, those positives, and we're saying, like, oh, at least we got through their arms. At least we're seeing more of their relievers. And it's like at some point, maybe you want to win a ball game more than just seeing more pitches and all that. I think it was Mookie today, it was Mookie today who said, like, sure, we're taking a lot of pitches and getting a lot of walks and all that, but at some point you need to capitalize on those, and I couldn't agree more. You hope they start doing that today because there's been robbery as well, like that Will Smith rob off the bat in the first inning. The Dodgers are right there. The Braves might be getting a little bit of early series luck, but still you're going down. You're coming into this game down 0-2. It feels a little ugly. Mookie was also talking about it today. Looking at the positive side, the team is riding that. Dave as well. They're riding the momentum of that late comeback. They're looking at the positives of getting all of those. Seeing all those arms, seeing all those pitches, letting the bullpen work, and like Mookie said, win a game and ride the wave. Just let it keep going from there. Again, there's a lot of things that look positive going forward. But now it's time for me to focus a little bit on the negatives from yesterday, and we appreciate you all in the comments. We'll get to you guys very shortly. I think I saw my friend Stacy in the comments as well, so hi Stacy, good to see you. Oh, see your name. High leverage 5th inning. So last night the game was lost in the 5th inning, and Dave's comments maybe irked me a lot more than they irked other people. Scattered around some of the comments here, he pointed out that he didn't want to bring in high leverage Blake Trinan. He didn't want to bring in that arm with only I think he didn't want to go to Choleric or something. He mentioned he didn't want to bring in a high leverage arm, whether it be Trinan or Choleric, with a 3-run deficit, only a 3-run deficit. He quote, it just didn't make sense. But again, he also had Trinan warming when it was only 2-0, and there was the potential for him to face Acuna, and then Gonsolin walked. And I'll say I'm fine with Gonsolin getting an opportunity. I think Gonsolin pitched his ass off last night or yesterday afternoon. He did great, and to be able to get 4 1/3 and 3 runs out of him was good and would have been fantastic. But That's not the way his line ended up looking, because they went to the wrong arm. They went to Baez. Notably, like I said, Baez fails in those situations. You get those runners on base, inherited runners score on Pedro Baez. He is the death of ERAs for other pitchers, while his ERA looks fine. Sure, it's whatever. It's like 27. I think he got one out last night and allowed a run on his own ledger. But notably, Bruce Dark Gratterall was available yesterday. Dave said that, and quote, in the fifth inning, I'm not going to use a high leverage guy right there. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. Regardless of the inning, that was the most high leverage situation in the game, that fifth inning. Do you agree?
I don't. I strangely fall on the other side. I'm usually a pretty anti throw in the towel, you got to be in every pitch and in every game and live like it's do or die every single pitch. I didn't love the decisions that he made. Mm-hmm. Didn't love that he brought in Pedro right there. Didn't necessarily have a problem with that. The problem that I did have is the fact that I wouldn't call Kolarek a high leverage guy. That's not what he's meant to be. That's not why he's there. So I don't think when he's saying high leverage, I think he's like, that's why I didn't bring in Trinan. I wanted to probably save him for a different inning there. I think that you're more looking at a mistake in, I don't understand, number one, allowing Tony to pitch to the top of the order for the third time around. As good as he was and as much as he was dealing, he was definitely struggling that inning, and he definitely looked like he didn't have it all.
Yeah.
So to have Acuna come back up and then just to walk him again is like, okay, well, he was obviously staying away from him the entire game, didn't throw one in the zone to him, really. So I didn't quite understand that move, especially when you have arms out in the pen. If you're going to bring a guy in, you bring in Pedro for him. You don't bring in Pedro for Freddie freaking Freeman. Don't understand that move at all. I think Kolarek plays up much better against Freddie Freeman than Pedro Baez does, and that obviously results in a run that's pushed across, and we obviously lost by a run. So looking back on it, really hard to look at that and say that there wasn't a mistake made.
Yeah.
Don't mind the not bringing in Trinan. I do mind the bad matchup.
Dave admitted that the three batter rule did play in that situation. There was an out in the inning,
right.
But to bring in, Baez in that situation, like you said, against Freeman, who's tearing the cover off the ball all season, likely, should be the NL MVP. To let him beat your guy that you are not considering high leverage, if you're saying that I didn't want to bring in a high leverage guy, but you brought in Baez, so you're admitting he's not a high leverage guy, but you're chasing three, your bats aren't working, and there are still ducks in the pond with one out. I'm sorry, that is a high leverage situation. Sure, I'm fine maybe seeing Bruzdar a little bit later. You have different arms, but we saw it in the past with Dave, where he would go to Brandon Morrow in 17 with those in that situation or something like that. So not every time do his move. Okay, Baez needs to get the job done. We know that. Do you have these guys on your? It's not all on Dave, and I understand that. The Dodgers have relied on Baez for years, too long, and I'm thrilled that this is his last season. We will never see Pedro Baez again in Dodger blue, and that makes me incredibly happy as a human, as a Dodger fan, as somebody that said very bad things about him in my lifetime, because he's done this over and over again, and it's not just hurting himself, it's hurting his teammates. It's giving somebody like Clayton Kershaw this narrative that follows him around for all of his career about him not being a good, him being a terrible playoff pitcher. And sure, the home runs, a lot of that is on Kersh, but Baez has not helped. He's not come in to clean up the mess, but focusing on the now, focusing on the yesterday. Dave's quote, "You can't play every game regardless of score like it's life or death in a 7-game series." And I'm going to disagree with that as well, just because we saw our post-game guy, Mr. Doug McCain. You guys will see him wherever you're watching us. Stay tuned right after the game, because you can watch again, you can vent, or you can be happy about a Dodgers win, hopefully. We knock on wood. But Davey Martinez last year with the Nationals threw the right guys out there. He wanted to win every game, and he just kept stomping on people until he did it. Sure, all of their starters were hurt this year because of it, but they got a ring. And at some point, the Dodgers got to get a ring, and you got to make the right moves, and you got to go to the guys that are going to get you there, even if you have to burn them out a little bit. Not to the point that they burned out Brandon Morrow in 17, but yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And another question for you then, because you're talking about kind of some of the moves and the way they play up. You have to look that maybe they do have to play slightly ahead because you don't know what you got out of Kersh. D maybe fit Game 5. If no Kersh, maybe Game 4. And at the same time, you have to look at the trickle-down effect with Kenley Jansen's very up-in-the-air role. How much do you think all of that plays up into it? Yeah,
I mean, when you're talking about high-leverage guys, if you are considering Kenley and how shaky that he's been, especially in the postseason, you can't just have Pedro Baez waiting in the pen behind Kenley Jansen. You have to have somebody who can lock it down if it comes to that point. If you bring in Kenley in the 9th and you're up a run or tied, or if it's a close game, whatever it might be, you got to have somebody ready to go after him. And so I think that's probably played into the decision making. I don't think he'll ever admit that, and I don't think he should ever admit that, but I'm sure it plays into it. Yeah. We haven't seen Kenley yet. We're going to see Kenley at some point. But, if you're looking at bringing Blake Treinen in there, if he's thinking long-term down the line, he's like, well, if we get to the 8th or 9th inning, we might need him behind Kenley, depending on how things go. So I think it definitely plays into it. Kenley's struggles are going to affect everybody, and I think that's the first sign of it. I will say, though, if we come back and win this series, I think you should look at Game 2, and that will be the turning point for everything. That will dictate how the rest of the series goes. If we lose a series, by all means, go back to that game and blame it on Dave. I got no problem with that.
Yeah, it's definitely, that was a big swing game. You would like to have 1-1 and go into now their lesser relievers and all that. But let's find a few of the comments here. I like Neil here. Neil on Periscope said same mistake Mattingly made with Baez against the Cards, and a bunch of different times with Baez and various teams. So I'm gonna give a bell for that to scare the dog. Ivan said what I said. Put Jansen in. I would have thrown Jansen in that inning, man, before Baez. That's and people know how I feel about Kenley.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's something to think about in that scenario. If you're not going to use Kenley in the 9th inning, they haven't necessarily committed to that. But if you're not going to, I mean, that's a high leverage situation. That's a situation where you need some outs. That's a situation where you can get him some work at the very least.
Yeah, get out of that. Only have to get 2 outs. Throw your best stuff. Build some confidence going forward, because you're going to need him either way. As much vitriol as everybody spills about Kenley, the Dodgers need him. We all need him to do well. We can't just cast him aside. We can't take him off the roster. The Dodgers need Kenley Jansen to get anywhere. Any other comments standing out for you? A lot of great comments. I'm seeing some good stuff. Louis says, or Louis or Luis. Louis, no, I think it's Louis. So the Dodgers inherited the Chicago Cubs curse.
Yeah, no kidding, man. Brian over on Periscope says, bring back Broxton. And that's it's a rough one for me, boys.
That's driving me to drinking.
Yep.
What else you got?
Oh, man. There are a lot of people that are obviously upset about Dave's comments. I think, personally, he just really said it the wrong way. I think there's a better way that he could have said all of those things. I would have preferred he said the basic, his basically, we like that matchup there. We like those numbers there, that type of thing. Much would have preferred that over what he said. And obviously, the way he said it, a lot of people aren't liking it in the comments. I've seen about 15 comments about what he said so far. But we got to get a little happier, man. We're going into a game that we need to win. I mean, this is not technically a must-win game, but when you're looking at it, you don't want to be down 3-0. It has a must-win feel to it, definitely. The Dodgers aren't backed completely into a corner, but they're closing in on that corner really quickly. Today feels like a day that you got to win. So let's get on some happy notes. First of all, looking at the next couple pitchers that are looking ahead, you look at Kyle Wright, you look at Bryce Wilson, who's set to go tomorrow. You don't know if Clayton Kershaw's going tomorrow, but you kind of think and you kind of hope that he is at this point. You got 2 young guys, no playoff experience really. Kyle Wright last year against the Marlins and shut them down completely. It's also the Marlins, so let's not forget that. Bryce Wilson has not made a playoff appearance, but both these guys are young. They're kids, don't have a lot of playoff experience. Bryce Wilson doesn't have any at all. Mm-hmm. You look at them, and these are two guys that the Dodgers should rough up. They should rough up. So if you're looking at the ninth inning last night and the momentum that brings into today, do you feel like they're going to get to Kyle Wright early today? Because I think that's just the key to the series is get to them early.
Yeah, no doubt, and that's what they were trying to do. They were two amazing feats of athleticism on one play away from getting out on top yesterday. But that Riley stop and Freeman keeping his foot on the bag, robbed us and kind of changed the momentum of that game right off the bat. But no, you need to get out. You need to get out ahead, and you need to take advantage of these kids. But, if we're going cliche time, one game at a time, look at Wright, go forward from there, because that's where we're at. Notably, on the positive side of the ledger, like I'd mentioned early on in the show, so ESPN stats and info, the Dodgers are facing an 0-2 series deficit for the 16th time in franchise history. In the previous 15 times, they've gone at 11-4. So we have some good history on our side. That's pretty decent winning percentage, and like I mentioned, we are the only team that have not lost 3 games or more in the 2020 campaign. How much do you take into account these historic notes and all that, and past numbers?
I don't really. I mean, there's always going to be people who break the records or break the norm or things like that. I don't really stick to it. I just kind of stick to my gut feeling and what I'm seeing from guys on the field. They felt dead yesterday for a lot of the game. You didn't see a lot of movement from anybody. You didn't see a lot of talking. The dugout looked pretty silent. And for the most part, that's the Dodgers game. That's what they do. They're pretty locked in and focused most of the game. They're not like the Padres who are going to run and dance in the dugout. That's not the team that they are, and they don't have to be that team. But it really didn't feel like there was any energy for them at all. So when you start seeing guys react, you start seeing Will Smith reach on an error, which most times guys would hang their head about and walk silently to first base about. He's fired up, pointing to the dugout like, let's go. Let's keep the train moving. Let's go. Let's get back in this. So I like what I saw from them at the end. I like the fight that they had. From what Dave Roberts said about the clubhouse today in his press conference, it sounds like guys are ready to go and they're fired up about today. And to me, that's the biggest sign. If he had said something like, oh, it's pretty quiet in the clubhouse today, I might be a little concerned.
Yeah, no, nailed it right there for sure. Hearing that they're happy, even Mookie saying it as well, that the clubhouse does have some good vibes going right now, and it doesn't seem like it's that doesn't seem like a cliche thing. It seems like that's legitimate. They feel good about where they're at, and that's where you look back at that momentum in that ninth inning or in the end of the game, and then you just look at a couple of things that could have gone better. Woody not giving up a run, and the same with I think it was Kolarek later in the game, or whatever the hell it is. Just those couple of runs, those little bit of difference makers. But I do, despite all of this, feel good going into this game. Another one of the, I don't know, positive or not positive notes, whichever way you take it, Kershaw is doing better. Dodgers are still non-committal on having him pitch in Game 4. They called yesterday's bullpen aggressive. So he looked pretty free and easy. We talked about it yesterday on the show. If you guys missed it, go ahead, scroll on back. And while you're on our YouTube, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. We'll pop right up in your face on your phone. Dustin May will not pitch today. Would not say when. Likely your Game 5 starter. But
right.
Looking ahead then, if we're talking about the pitchers now, one of the things they're saying that made them feel good is Julio on the mound. First start of the postseason. I think this is his first postseason start since 2016. So it's been a minute. That was his rookie year. But that was one of the things Dave was talking about, the energy in the clubhouse with Julio going in the mound. They like this kid. They like him, what he brings to the club as a ball player. Yeah,
I think he, looking back at Julio's career, he feels like a very streaky pitcher. So he rides those peaks and he rides those valleys every single time. And right now he's at a peak. I think over his last 5 starts, like 25 plus innings or something like that, with just a smidge over 1 ERA between the postseason and regular season to finish things out. He looks sharp. His strikeout rate's up from the whole year on those 5 starts. He struck out like 11 dudes through 8 innings. I think during the playoffs, he's a different pitcher than he has been this regular season, because you looked at him this regular season, and at the start of it, all you could say was, man, his first inning really sucks. Like, what is happening to him? And then they're like, all right, we'll just give him an opener. And, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think over the last 5 starts, he's really shown you who he is and what he's capable of. I think that he's just had such a strange career in Los Angeles, man. To be bounced back and forth, to be like, hey, this is our starter, this is our guy, he's going to be in our rotation. We don't have a spot for him, so we're going to put him in the bullpen. And it's like, oh, we're going to take the innings off of him. He's not going to start the whole year. He's going to start some of the year. Oh, his shoulder, we're going to ride him in the bullpen to start just to ease the innings. Then we're going to throw him back. And then now he's in the starting rotation, and then they don't really start him. They have openers for him.
Yeah.
So even this year, he's had a strange year, but I think he's found a lot of success and consistency.
Yeah, especially after, the first maybe 3-4 weeks or first 3 or 4 starts. He's probably been, all told, Dodgers' most consistent starter, from start to end of the season. He was in there. He made every start when he was, told to go start. So that's good. And I do like him in the spot. I think he plays up. I think he learned how to kind of deal with those first inning jitters. Last night, what's his name? Jerry, our friend of the show, Jay Hare, was talking about he should just come out and be pitching out of the stretch right away. Keep that mindset, keep that mentality, because while he's been coming in as the bulk guy or coming in relief, he's still pitching a starter's workload. So if he can go out there and get you 6, maybe even 7 shutdown innings, that is huge for the overall momentum of this game.
Especially if the bats can get going early and develop a big lead and get to that bullpen very early and make that bullpen work for the entire game, kind of like they made us do last night. It's going to be really good for the next couple of games. I think, looking forward, if we win tonight, we can tie up the series tomorrow with ease, and that puts you in a whole different spot. Obviously, you still have to face the Braves' 2 best pitchers at some point, but you just hope that the Dodgers can counter with some offensive punches and really just get the ball going.
Yeah, and facing them a couple of times, the Dodgers tend to play a lot better with having faced the pitcher multiple times, or in a recent stretch. All right, Kyle Wright, tell fans what your brilliant research figured out about this Kyle Wright kid, rookie right-hander for the Bravos.
I mean, he's one of those young kids that the Braves have in their system that is just going to throw. He's going to throw. I mean, he's going to huck it. He's going to push at certain times, and other times he's not going to look that great, and he's going to walk a bunch of dudes. He does walk a bunch of dudes. The next 2 guys do, and I know it. I know that over the first 2 games, we've been hearing that the Braves are going to walk a bunch of dudes, and that has not worked out because each pitcher has walked a bunch of dudes, and the Dodgers haven't pushed anything across. So you almost think it kind of works against the Dodgers at some point. But Kyle Wright was walking almost 6 guys per 9 innings, more than any other Braves pitcher that we're going to see in the starting rotation this year. Bryce Wilson the day after, kind of similar, but he does get a lot of ground balls, and you can either take that as a positive or a negative. A positive because the Dodgers have gotten a lot of their outs through fly balls over the last couple of games. A negative because, as a pitcher, you want to get ground balls. So it kind of depends on how the Dodgers are going to handle it, how they're going to approach it. You hope they're going to hit the hell out of the ball, but you never know.
Yeah, notably, I think that was one of the things Mookie had talked about today, too. You're talking about the walks. The Dodgers are doing great to see a lot of pitches take their walks, but he said, at some point we need to capitalize on them, and that's where they haven't had that sucker punch to throw back the Braves' way, as well. The Braves have had a number of them. So before we get into the lineup, before we kind of continue on and look at some of the matchups, obviously we're running a little bit longer than we want to in the show, but it's good. We're having fun. We're having good conversation. Comments are going great, so we love you all for it. Drop your game predictions. What do you guys think is going to happen? Who's going to hit a home run? Hit your pick to click. I think I picked Muncy yesterday. I'm just saying. He dropped a big dong in the 9th. I'm just saying. Just saying.
Proud of you.
But yeah, let us know, and we'll get to those after we get into the lineups here. First off, Dodgers lineup. A little bit of change. JT, DH, nothing wrong with him. Dave just wanted to kind of get him off his feet and said that this will be his last DH day for however much longer the Dodgers get to play. Peterson in left. Pollock gets his first day off of the postseason. Nothing wrong with Petey. Nothing wrong with Pollock, per Dave. And Rios gets the start at third. So what do you think about this lineup? Honestly.
I like the trap that Dave Roberts seems to be trying to set up. And let me explain that a little bit. Number one, I love getting JT off of his feet. He looked okay at third base the first couple of games, but it definitely looked like he's lost a half step or so. Dave is doing something that he does not normally do towards the bottom of the lineup. He's stacking 3 straight lefties in Bellinger, Peterson, and Rios. He never does that. It's not something that he likes to do, especially against a bullpen that has 4 really good left-handed arms. But what he's doing is he's setting it up so that inevitably it's going to line up so that at some point they're going to bring in a lefty to face those 3 guys. And that's when you get to bring A.J. Pollock in to hit for Jock Peterson. Mm-hmm. It's going to work out well, and I love it. And I really think this is the first time that Dave is playing chess in his lineup construction. I like how it looks defensively. I do like, strangely enough, this seems weird to say, and I don't feel comfortable saying it, but I do like Jock Peterson in left more than I like A.J. Pollock in left lately. Will Smith is doing a lot of catching lately, man. A lot of catching.
Well, I mean, it should have been Barnesy yesterday, but, Kershaw.
Right. It's supposed to be him, so the way it lined up is kind of unfortunate because then he's got to start 3 straight behind the dish. Yeah. That's a tough job, man. Catching 3 straight games is a tough job.
Janet says we need Superstar Barnes back in the lineup, by the way.
I wouldn't be surprised to see his bat jump into the lineup at some point today. I mean, he's one of the few right-handed bats that's on the bench. You don't have a ton of options in that, so either Kike or him. And I'd like to see Barnes jump in there at some point.
Yeah, we're seeing. I saw a few of them. Well, aside from the Barnes one, we got Rios. People are liking Rios today. Danny says Rios goes yard for a pick to click right there. Jose Rod 05 saying 5-2. Mookie gets one today. 5-2 win. Brian saying Smith goes yard. X Tuna with 3 A's says Mookie gets the team going today, and that's something Mookie talked about in the pregame that he's aware that he needs to be doing. Go to DodgerJation.com, check it out. We wrote a post up about it. Brian also say, let's go Rios. A lot of Rios and Mookie. I guess that's where the fan base is kind of going. Who do you think runs into one then?
I'm feeling Mookie today, man. I like the way he talked in his press conference. I like the feeling from him. I like this matchup for him. It is a sinker ball pitcher, but I feel like that just plays right into Mookie's wheelhouse in the bottom inside corner of the zone on him. So yeah, I'm going to say that Mookie yanks one out today.
Katie Musgrove over on Facebook saying, you know what, I think we're going to see something pretty awesome with Rios. So we got a lot of Rios love in here. I would love to see Eddie run into one. We need to see Chico in the lineup. I mean, I'd be down to whatever. Game 4, if you're down 3-0, just let it happen. Other side of the ball, nothing changed too much. You got a little bit of flip in the outfield there. So you got Camargo in at third, and they took what's his name, Markakis out, lefty. Markakis sits. Third baseman Austin Riley moves into left field, but ho-hum's about the same lineup. You just gotta hope that Julio can shut them down. You got three left. Well, Albies is a switch hitter, so yeah. I mean, they stacked a lot of righties in there. You really got only one true lefty with Freeman. I feel like Mr. Urias can do some damage to this lineup, but I've also felt like we could have been better these last few games. So screw me, am I right?
I feel good about this, but I've been wrong about everything so far. So what does it matter?
Halloween asks, has Rios played third? Yes, he has. Not this postseason thus far, but he has been playing third in the past. He was kind of the de facto. He became the go-to guy playing third whenever JT needed to sit. That is until he had the hamstring issue. So some leg issues there. It's be interesting to see if Eddie can hold up. If not, it's gonna be some bad things. Anything else popping up in the comments for you? I got Phil saying Bellinger yards 2. So we got 2 belly bombs tonight. I would not be mad.
That's heavy. Okay.
Yeah, I would assume. That's the way I'm going to interpret it.
I think you're right. Yeah. Patrick over on Facebook says Jock Pop going deep. Jock looked like he was getting close yesterday on some of those.
Exit velo, hot. Launch angle, not so good. He hit a couple. He hit a couple over like 105. off the bat, but they were like 50-degree launch angle. So he knew he is getting close. So maybe him getting back out in the field kind of triggers something back in there a little bit. So you hope that.
Whenever you see him kind of pissed off as soon as he hits the ball, you know he just missed one, and you know if he's just missing him that he's feeling it. So. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see him run into one tonight.
He's getting close. So I'm going to go dark horse on my pick to click before we get out of here, because it's about half hour before first pitch, and Brooks got to get home so he can cry a little bit before game time. Absolutely. Dark horse, CT3. I think he finally comes out of it. He did get a base knock last night, but I think he finds a way to run into one, because he seems to be at this point right now where he doesn't know what to do with his swing and his approach at this ballpark. He's having a good season, but now his power stroke is an out here when it's homer, definitely at Dodger Stadium,
right?
Definitely at 3 p.m. So I'm gonna go CT3. I think he does something good to get some points for the Dodgers. Score some points.
Let's do it.
Well, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us. Make sure you tune into wherever you're watching us. Right after the game, you can check out the DN postgame show with Mr. Doug McCain. Also, we are running a giveaway. It is on our Instagram. I'm going to go ahead and repost that onto our story on Instagram so you can find it. Giving away an autographed Kershaw photo with our friends over at Elite Sports Collectibles. So check it out. It's a really cool thing, and it's you don't got to pay. It's a free giveaway. Just enter and follow them. Be nice to them at Elite Sports Collectibles. Also, find us. We are on the internet, DodgersNation.com. We have a lot of content there. Everything you need to know about your Dodgers today is up at the website right now. We are a podcast, Blue Heaven, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, everywhere a podcast is available. Go find us there. That's my
Please do. We got a good podcast. We like to talk about sports and stuff. Guys, I'm at Brooke3. This guy on the other side of me, or on top or on bottom of me, I always forget, is at RealFRG on Twitter and Instagram. We're at Dodgers Nation on Twitter, at Officials Dodgers Nation on Instagram. Go check out that giveaway. It's a really cool picture. I want it myself, but I can't win it. Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your anger. We'll see you right back here after the game with Doug, and then tomorrow for a pregame show again.
Bye.
Bye.